everybody for being with us here today. We're delighted to welcome you here to share this moment with us. I will hand over straight away for an introduction by Marie-Laure Cuvelier to welcome you, and then we will get down to business with the various presentations. So over to you, Marie-Laure. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me well. I'm delighted to be here with you today to welcome you, youth from all over the world, with your commitment to the social and solidarity economy. It's an honor to be with you here today and to be welcoming you here next month for the forum. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. For this afternoon, I would like to thank you for being with us and for continuing to contribute and to take part in this process to speak on behalf of young people and of the social and solidarity economy. Thank you for all your work, for all the work you've already accomplished. I know you have chosen 3 political pillars for the advocacy. We've talked about social and ecological justice. And often in the SSE, it's the opposite of destructive policies dominated by money, whereas you are more interested in the living world. So thank you for that. I know you have also chosen education and access to training, emancipation and dignity through learning. I think these are very important subjects that need to be highlighted. We need to think about our rights, our freedoms, and that everybody should have access to the training they want, or an economy that has a positive impact on the world, and in the hope of integrating the SSE into education programs as extensively as possible. And finally, you've chosen peace and cooperation with all the environmental challenges which are core to world peace. And this is a very relevant cause. And to conclude, I will also mention, I don't know whom, because there are lots of different authors on the internet when we're looking for quotes, but there's a phrase that says that there's no such things as foreigners on this earth, only friends. And I'd like to finish with this. And we're looking forward to meeting you, to welcoming you here in just under a month now, and looking forward to seeing you in person. I wish you a very, very fruitful afternoon. Thank you. Thank you, Marie-Laure, for that word of introduction, which is also a bit of a teaser as regards the advocacy papers we'll be talking about in a little while. There are not many points on the agenda, but we will be going to all 5 continents to talk about their continental advocacy. So there is still quite a lot to get through. And at the end, we will present more about the program and what is being planned for youth and young people. We'll give you some information about that. And we'll also open up the discussion if you have any questions or comments that you would like to make. So please don't hesitate. Even during the webinar, don't hesitate to post any questions you have in the chat. We'll try to pick them up and to answer them directly here. I will perhaps to begin without going too far back in time. I will present the framework for what we're doing here today before we get down to business. And I'm going to switch into English to do this, as the forum is taking place in Bordeaux and we'll be welcoming the whole world. The idea will be to speak in English, and you will see that even with a French accent, it is possible to speak in English.
Switch and to start this international webinar in English. And thanks, Gary, for the translation. One thing that I would like to say, it's I'm working for the GSEF, the GSEF Secretariat, which means we are a network of local government and civil society organization. It's important for us. It's our identity. The way is doing alliances between local government and civil society can make public policies from territories, something bottom up and not top down. We were during 10 years in Seoul and we arrived in Bordeaux in 2022. And as you can see on the map, every 2 years, one city member of the GSEF network welcome the GSEF forum. So each time a special team organize the forum in link with the GSEF secretariat. So I'm working for the GSEF secretariat with a team, and this year it will be Bordeaux that will welcome the world. You can see on the map the sixth first edition. And I add some pictures because step by step, youth people take more and more place in the network and in the different event. So as you can see on the right on the screen, in 2017, a global youth camp was organized in Seoul. So that's different than the forum that was organized in 2013 and 14. And it was a special event for youth people. And then we start to have an international youth declaration every forum. So in Bilbao in 2018, youth people have done the first declaration. Then it was in Mexico. You see pictures online because you know that was COVID time. And then in Dakar, a big mobilization from youth coming from the world, but as well a lot of African countries was present and take the floor. So that's why we get already 4 declaration about youth, and the way that we will present today and we will come to the forum, it's to draft the new declaration for Bordeaux. So as the youth take more and more space after Dakar, the General Assembly decide to create the SSE Youth Hub to organize and to give a space to youth people inside the network. And we have 5 members of GSEF on each continent that are doing the implementation of the 3 main area that we're working on, means advocacy, to push up public policies for youth and listening the voice of youth people. Awareness raising, so talking about positive and SSE project to young people and young generation, and then accompaniment support means more about cooperative from youth, incubators, helping them to create their project and everything. Then we will come to this forum, so the GSEF forum and the SSE Youth Hub organize. So on each continent, we try to prepare an advocacy to raise the different reality on different countries, and already by continent, it's not that easy to find a common advocacy for a continent. We have worked a lot as well to raise awareness, and we will talk more about it after it. Then we have done a lot of partnership and project to support young people from different countries that will act as ambassador of their country and locality. And then everyone will meet up in Bordeaux in a month, exactly in a month, by the way. Here is just some of the delegation that will come, but France Volontaire really support us on all our work on each continent to find a way to finance youth people to get around. The FQG will bring with its partner, kind of more than 90 youth people. We put the repass Europe because they will bring 20, 25 youth people from 12 countries. I mentioned as well the International Association for Francophone region, province, that will come as well with more than 8 countries with some people. So just giving you a big overview. That's yeah, we try our best that young people from over the world are represented, let's say. And for other thing, I already talked about it. And and we will start now to talk about the different advocacy. So I will give the floor to each co-pilot that will present their work and their main priorities. So the floor is yours. We will zoom first to Europe.
Bonjour.
Hello, I'm going to be speaking in French. So if Gary can translate now into English. So I'm Aurore Prévost. I work for the Nouvelle-Aquitaine region based in Bordeaux. And as Martin just said, the region is a co-pilot of the Youth Hub for the GSEF. And I'm delighted to be working with these different people representing the 5 continents, and in our case, Europe. And as part of this work, to have closer involvement of young people in the social and solidarity economy, we set up a process at a very local level with a lot of participation to then move upwards to a more European level. So at the beginning, just to explain the method and how we went about this and how we worked on this advocacy, we had a working group, a local working group made up of young people from different backgrounds, students, volunteers, entrepreneurs, also youth stakeholders, support organizations, and non-profit associations who work with young people, with the aim being to develop an advocacy based on the reality of the experience for young people based on their vision of society, their commitment, and their aspirations. So we did this work through collective workshops, which then produced a method. And we chose to go and ask young people about their ideal society, about their involvement in the SSE, and to work on co-constructing concrete proposals. At the same time as we were having these local workshops, there was also a European dimension to this, with a European project coordinated by the GSEF, with 10 partners. It's from Italy, Belgium, Poland, Germany, Bulgaria, Portugal, Romania, Slovenia, Moldova, and France, with the aim being to share our practices and our tools between countries and to co-construct this advocacy for better recognition of young people in the social and solidarity economy, and also with the aim of creating a network of youth stakeholders throughout Europe. So rather than advocacy here, we wanted to really produce an educational pedagogical document. We worked on awareness raising with young people. We went to youth events. We went into high schools to meet young people and also to discuss with them about the social and solidarity economy. We also created teaching materials to help to visualize the values and principle of the social and solidarity economy, but also to show how we can get involved in this economy. So we worked on all of this, and then we also put together our advocacy. As Marie-Laure said earlier, this advocacy is structured around 3 main pillars. The first of these is social and environmental justice, calling for all the diversity of humanity to be included, to share wealth, and to protect our planet and all forms of life actively, we also have a focus on education, which we want to contribute to greater empowerment, to be less competitive, with more solidarity, which liberates minds and initiates cooperation, and which also connects learning and action, and then peace, which we see not so much as an absence of war, but as a shared global awareness where the SSE can play a major role. So these pillars reflect our commitment to building a different future where youth do not just watch what is happening, but actually play an active role in change. And on this basis, we also have some concrete demands of three kinds: at European level, at national, and at a more local level. At European level, we want the SSE to be incorporated into teaching programs such as Erasmus, and also to create a European Youth Fund for the SSE at national level. We want young people to be fully represented in national decision-making bodies, and the SSE to be taught in schools from an early age. And at a local level, we encourage local authorities to support SSE initiatives put together by young people and to create spaces of co-construction such as SSE youth laboratories. So that is what I wanted to say, to give a very, very brief description of the work that has been done on our advocacy for youth in Europe. And I hand over now to our Asian co-pilot.
Joy Lee should be here. Joy, can you hear me?
Hello, hi.
Hi. Thank you. So I let you the floor and I pass the slide.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Joy, one of the co-representatives of NECG based in Seoul, Korea. It will be very short, my presentation. First of all, in Korea, among the 5 key recommendations that we have collaborated and write together, the second key recommendation, which is build infrastructure accessible to youth. I think this is what we've developed for the last decades, something quite solid. So, in a word, physical and digital infrastructure is what we are quite strong enough. But we are facing two main challenges. First one is making sure that they can actually come to use these resources, and second one is more important thing actually, is to get their voices heard, which means that feel free to be engaged in the decision making process and take an initiative in the social and solidarity economy. Mm, to to explain more concretely, among those 5 recommendations, we are as NextG, we are especially focused on reaching vulnerable youth, which is the fourth one, the protection of vulnerable young people, including those who have withdrawn from society, isolated at home mostly for many years, and as well as young people in rural areas, compared to the enormous compactness in Seoul. And they are those who are left behind by growing problem between the gap. No, I'm sorry, growing inequality and the great gap between the rich and poor youth. So for conclusion, I'm truly honored and happy to be able to join in this community, and I'm excited to uh, work together with all you guys to support young people to claim their opportunities and take part in the social and solidarity economy. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Joy Lee. And thank you so much, even because it's quite late in Korea. and really early in Mexico, by the way, as we are from the world, we have to find something in between, let's say. We will switch again in French, I think, because now it's Fabrice Balou for Africa that will take the floor. Fabrice.
Hello, everybody. I will be speaking in French, as you said. So I'm Fabrice Adelphe Balou, co-pilot of the Youth Hub for Africa. And our work began in 2023, quite some time ago, after the forum that we organized in Gambassam in 2021. And I think that has also inspired the city of Dakar, which organized the forum for the first time on the African continent with its youth forum. So we have carried on this process, and we have also supported the participation of young people in 2024. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you for asking.
Yes. So as I was saying, concerning the Youth Forum Awards, we've encouraged the participation of young people on the continent from the great African countries, notably from West Africa, and we've always continued working on this. So the idea now is to really develop this process on the African continent. Then we organized the second edition of the Youth Forum in Yamoussoukro. And as part of this, we also organized other initiatives, youth initiatives, notably this advocacy. And so we have come up as part of this with a series of recommendations. And we also have a declaration. I think perhaps there's a network problem. You should be able to hear me. Fabrice, I can hear you very well. I can also hear you. Perhaps there's a problem there. So I could perhaps move on. So perhaps the others are using the French interpretation. And if you're using the French interpretation, you have to have the original, you have to be able to hear the original voice. And so after the initiative book for youth, we have come up with recommendations. And in addition, and also we have the Yamoussoukro Declaration, which we can move on to the next slide. So as part of this work at Yamoussoukro, the idea for us, as we know that many young Africans will not be able to be present in Bordeaux, they're facing problems to get visas and many other issues. We therefore have tried to do preliminary work in Africa to get as many young people together as possible. But here, for our advocacy paper, we took account not only of the questions of the young people, but we also went out to meet young people and different stakeholders in the systems and the different support organizations that exist for young people, and also some decision makers at local levels and even ministries. And all this work was done. So outside also the youth networks to exchange with all the different stakeholders. So we hosted a number of, we had contacts with a lot of different countries, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Cameroon. And I would like to thank everybody who contributed to the Yamoussoukro event. And so aside from this, We have also, as you can see here on the list, we have a number of different ambassadors in 17 different countries, with focal points in 17 different countries, Madagascar, for example, and others. And in addition to the focal points and the work on the recommendations, there was also the question of creating a network of incubators. The process is now underway, and we're really getting that started, to get that network started, because on the African continent, there wasn't a network of incubators specific to the SSE. So we need to develop a framework for this, because the idea for us with these youth hubs is also to have concrete action and to be able to organize an ecosystem to work on identifying the strategic partners. And we can, if we can move on to the next slide. So, as you can see, we have a draft for the mobilization of young people on the African continent. And as part of this advocacy paper, we drew our inspiration on all the work which had already been done in 2021, 2023 at the two editions of the Youth Forum. So in our advocacy, there are the aim is to encourage states or local authorities to adopt public policies that are conducive to the development of the SSE, with a particular focus on issues of young people. It's very important. And also another of the points also concerns the question of education. So, and over and above education, also the question of funding for young people and promoting initiatives, youth initiatives, and many other things. And another point is the question of conducting an assessment of the SSE and youth policies. Because if we need to convince banks or development agencies or decision makers to finance SSE projects, we need to have studies and to have diagnostic studies to understand the reality in the field. And this is another focus of our work. And in recent months, we received support from AFD in this area to conduct diagnostic studies. So the aim for us is also to have diagnostic studies on SSE and youth policies, which can then be replicated in the different countries that have youth hubs. In addition to this, there are also questions of funding, financing, which is also of essential importance. And for us, what's important is to be able to continue mobilizing our different partners, private companies, and others to favor SSE policy. So I wouldn't like to go on too long, but the main idea for me was to present the content of what we have done and the different recommendations in our advocacy paper. So thank you very much for listening. And now I will hand over perhaps to Valentine, who works with me and who joined us last year and here in Côte d'Ivoire, working with France Volontaire and the city of Bordeaux. So if she would like to add anything. Thank you very much, Fabrice. I hope you can hear me. So I've been working with Mr. Balou this year as an assistant in charge of operations for the GSEF Youth Hub in Africa. And I just wanted to quickly explain the work we have done this year. We're working closely with 17 focal points in 17 countries. all over Africa, but perhaps more particularly in West Africa. So these focal points are present in each of these countries and have done a lot of work this year, in particular to mobilize young people for the Bordeaux Forum. We began by setting up mission letters for these focal points to really enable them to act in their local territories. We also established a partnership with France Volontaire to make use of the embassies and partners in the different countries. We also tried to search us for financing for as many African delegations as possible. It's true that this year the forum is in Bordeaux. It's very different to 2 years ago when the forum was organized in Dakar. So we have to start working early on this to try to get as much funding as possible to be able to finance the trip for young people so that they can take part in the Bordeaux event. So we did a lot of work to mobilize young people with a selection grid, which was defined together to determine which sort of young people we wanted to see take part in the forum, and also to represent African youth and to show all the diversity of the projects and stakeholders here in Africa. We also are working at the moment to prepare for the end of the forum and the sessions where we will be reporting back to the financial backers and for the return of the delegates to their home countries. And finally, we've also done some work on much more logistics related issues of accommodation, enrollment for the forum. So trying to help the African delegations to be accommodated in the same youth hostels and to have them enroll in delegations to avoid any payment problems. But I would really like to say thank you for all the efforts made this year, and we hope that we will be there in large numbers in Bordeaux. That's all I had to say. Thank you very much. And just to finish, we would like to take this opportunity to thank the support that will enable us, and we'll be delighted to be there and to see how we can work together for the future of young people on the African continent. Thank you very much, Fabrice, for that presentation. So a lot of work underway in Africa. You have the Young Leaders Forum every other years, in the years when there isn't the forum. And so these activities, in addition to the national activities of the focal points. And also thank you, Valentine, for mentioning those 17 focal points and the work they have been doing in each country and all the work necessary so that all African youth can be represented in Bordeaux, as the slide said. As the slide says, I think we're going to be sticking with French for the moment, heading off to Quebec, who will be speaking for North America. So I think there are several of you who are going to be speaking, so I hand over to you for North America. Thank you very much, Martin. I'm Gabriel Haro. I'm based in Quebec. And so good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. So we're the pilot of the Youth Hub for North America, which is a huge territory. And the French-speaking part of North America is not necessarily huge, but we're representing our territory and doing everything that we can. And we'll also explain the advocacy process for North America. So our role is to support the life forces of the SSE in the under 35s and to organize consultation specifically for Quebec, but also in Canada more broadly. So to describe the background, so there was a social economy week which was held in Quebec, which attracted a lot of stakeholders from Quebec society, from the SSE and elsewhere, to talk about the different priorities and solutions offered by the SSE and the innovative ways of addressing the challenges we're facing. So this produced a manifesto, which is our advocacy paper, consulting people through our different channels and also contributing to the work done in the SSE week, which has been held in recent years. So it's just the beginning of the process. And this advocacy paper is a first step towards this. So I'll hand over to Frédéric now. Thank you, Gabrielle. Hello, everybody. Delighted to be here with you. I'm delighted to be with you here this morning, in our case, to talk about the process to create the Youth Manifesto, which we launched at the SSE week last May in Quebec. So as Gabrielle was saying, we did some previous consultation activities to try to go out to listen to young people and members of the youth wing of the SSE. And so we got together to try to organize this youth manifesto. And this produced 5 main themes, which I will present very, very briefly for our advocacy paper. So first of all, the manifesto is based on the idea that the SSE movement needs a new pole star, needs to become more political again. And so the 5 main themes are: the first is to reposition the SSE and to assert it that it's not just a business model, it's a tool to change and to build communities which are more resilient and able to act collectively. The second point is to promote decolonial and anti-oppressive practices to oppose oppression in solidarity with Indigenous peoples and with also feminist and queer movements. We also want to work locally and to reassert our local roots. The fourth point is to break away from the commodification of life. We want to reject having our lives, our bodies transformed into commodities. And the fifth point is to redefine the meaning, to give meaning back to work and to address the place work has in our lives, to combat exhaustion, and to try to create spaces where it's possible to flourish, to be active, and to breathe. So very briefly, those are the 5 main points in our manifesto. As Gabrielle said, this really is a first step in for this future action plan, and we took the opportunity of the summit to launch the manifesto in front of 13. There were 1,300 participants at the summit. And at that event we called upon young people to join us on the stage to read the manifesto. And here we have Marwan, who read the manifesto for the first time with other young people joining him, and it was given a very warm welcome by the audience. It was shared a lot on social media, and so this really motivated us to continue. And now I'll hand over to Arjan to talk about the future. Thank you, Frédéric. So, Marie-Jeanne, as Frédéric said, this is an ongoing long-term process which continues today with the GSEF forum at the end of this month. There are several consultations were organized before, during and after the summit, but we want to consolidate this manifesto and open it up to a greater number of young people from more diverse backgrounds. So we are very present in Quebec, especially in French-speaking Quebec, but we also want to discuss with the English-speaking community. And for the coming year, there are 5 discussions which are going to be held in 5 main regions of Quebec, in addition to taking part in the GSEF forum. And we're really looking forward to coming to take part in the discussions. We're also lucky enough with Gabrielle, Frédéric, and myself to have financing from the OFQ J. Here in Quebec, to take part in the GSEF will be members of a French-speaking delegation with whom we are going to be presenting the manifesto. And if ever there are people who are present here in the room and who would like to discuss with us, it would be a pleasure to meet you and to give you a hard copy of the manifesto if you want, but also to know what you think about it, about our standpoints. And we're looking forward to talking about all of this with you. Thank you to Quebec for that presentation by the three of you, a nice collective presentation. That's fantastic. And we see that there are different approaches on the different continents, and everybody has their own process and has their own demands. And you will have understood that the idea is to try to get all of this to converge afterwards, but not straight away. And we now move on to the final continent, where it's even earlier. So I think it's almost 9 o'clock in Quebec, and here it's in Mexico City, it's 1 hour earlier. And so I'll hand over to you, to the co-pilot for this continent, Latin America. So hello and good afternoon to everybody all over the world. So we're going to move on to Latin America and the Caribbean. I'll be speaking in Spanish, and it's a pleasure to be here with you during this webinar. A pleasure. I'm glad. Thank you for the invitation. And as we are one of the stakeholders in the SSE here in our region, we're very interested in the different roles of youth in the SSE on different continents, and therefore it's an honor for us to be have been at the forum in 2020-21, as you said, Martin. We held an online version of the forum in 2020 due to the pandemic in Mexico City, but we did present a very interesting standpoint of young people with their interest in building a more sustainable future with greater solidarity. So further to all these different standpoints, we have done a number of different activities to be able to conclude with the declaration of a youth declaration, as we said this. And we'll be there also at the end of October for the next one in Bordeaux. For Latin America and the Caribbean, we have different approaches with young people to try to listen to them and to work together on promoting the SSE in our region, and also to create networks, youth networks and events that we have organized in our different countries. This year, we organized a webinar on the dynamic of young people in Latin America and the Caribbean, and also where different young people, sorry, we have a small problem with different young people in the region taking part to promote their local projects. And every year we have different activities, meetings, webinars and events with the GSEF to try to consolidate this objective. And at the same time, we have also put out a call for projects so that young people who are interested in taking part in the Bordeaux Forum can do so. And we developed a document last year which summarizes all these different dialogues within the framework of the SSE and the GSEF. So this advocacy paper presents the arguments of a new approach to have a greater focus on well-being for young people, to find solutions. And that's why we are meeting today. And every day we do meet. We have been conducting these different activities to draft and construct this more sustainable, fairer future. And in the document, it states that young people are facing different challenges, such as structural inequalities at work and environmental pressure. And we have 4 main focuses on which to work to take up these challenges, which are food sovereignty and ecological sovereignty, dignity at work, social and fiscal justice, effective political participation, and education and training. And in this respect, on these subjects, we make recommendations based with different projects, and also to help more vulnerable populations and to create the conditions to share our experience and to have more connections between the different countries and continent, and to incorporate the SSE into the teaching in our schools and institutions, so that from the youngest age, people should be aware of this change and of this social and solidarity economy. We also need to harmonize the legal frameworks. There are differences between different countries, and also regarding the SSE. So we need to modernize the legal framework so that it is easier to have SSE projects, and also promote cooperation, future cooperation between different countries in the region, as we have already done, to share best practices and also to consolidate the SSE sector. And you will find all this in the document and the declaration for our region. We think this will be a very interesting and useful exercise to present the position of young people. So we hope that this will be an absolutely epic moment, a very special moment for us all to achieve our objectives, and we are at your disposal if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Mariana. Really nice to hear, and all Latin America in the chat are supporting you. You have Mexico flags and everything, so it's well here. And we have finished the 5 continents recommendations. We can share the different advocacies papers that are translated in French, English, and Spanish for Latin America. It was right in Spanish, and we can share it when we share the minutes of this webinar with as well the slide as you ask in the chat. Then before that, we are drafting the international declaration that will be presented in the forum. Numbe Puy will take the floor to say a word about the different advocacies. She prepared herself, so I will let her presenting. We will switch in French again. Numbe. She is working in the GSEF since almost a year. She arrived beginning of the year in February to support the international mobilization and doing the link with the local program. So she is as well key to support the youth dynamic. Numbe, you have your mic open, so that's your turn.
Merci, Martin.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, everybody, for taking part in this webinar, which is a moment for sharing and for constructing, looking at the different advocacy papers. It was a collective effort. Thank you for taking part in developing these advocacy papers. So I'm Ndombe Puyi. I come from Senegal. I work at the GSEF, and I am an international volunteer working on the international mobilization of young people, and to work also on questions of issues of advocacy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the different advocacy papers that we have presented, with the idea being to have a brief comparison of the advocacy documents that have been drafted. And the aim is to show both the strengths of this common core which unites us and values that we share. After analyzing the advocacy papers from the different continents, there are a number of points in common which are visible immediately, notably the strong demand for institutional recognition and genuine participation, with seats and quotas for young people and dedicated budgets in decision-making bodies. Also, a particular focus on education, transmission of knowledge, incorporating the SSE into schools and universities, and reinforcing intergenerational transmission and traditional knowledge. And in addition to this, we can also note another point of convergence linked with the call for accessible funding, which must be accessible from youth funds and also micro grants and better access to the existing initiatives and systems. Finally, young people are also calling for social and climate justice. I think in pretty much all the awareness raising activities and in all the data we have collected, in particular in the Europe advocacy paper and also in the others, I think that social justice and equality really are among the themes which come out the most strongly. The need to create decent jobs, the protection of commons, and also how to reduce the gap between rural and urban areas. So these points in common show that despite the different contexts in which young people live, they do share a global vision. And also that alongside these points in common, all the different advocacy papers from the different continents also have their specific features. For example, in Africa, young people emphasize the importance of adopting laws on SSE, even though in some regions there are already SSE laws, but many of SSE organizations, but many of these in the world of the SSE are not necessarily recognized institutionally as such, and therefore it would be interesting to move towards having more of a framework, then developing a network of mentors and demand for and also for decent local employment. In Latin America and the Caribbean, the focus is on fiscal justice, support for farmers, and on using art, culture and creative actions for advocacy. In Asia, the emphasis is more on the protection of young environmental activists and including marginalized groups and shared governance on climate and impact finance. And in Europe, young people emphasize the issue of housing for young people and the importance of having a common European narrative for the SSE as a vector of peace and international cooperation. And finally, in North America and Quebec, young people emphasize the need to repoliticize the SSE and also the rejection of commodification and of promoting decolonial and anti-oppressive practices. So these specifics reflect the local reality, but also they are part of a certain need to really adapt the SSE to the environmental and democratic challenges that we're facing. And the recommendations made by the young people in all the advocacy papers, whether in Africa, Europe, North America, Asia, or Latin America and the Caribbean, all are perfectly aligned with the SDGs, the 2030 agenda, and SDG 4 and 5 on participation and equality, the goal number 8 on decent work, and SDG 11 on sustainable territories. But without forgetting climate justice in the SDGs. So finally, all these declarations from the co-pilots will be taking the form of an international declaration to be presented by the young people at the close of the forum to political decision makers who will be present, to get them to take better account of the voice of young people when they're implementing policies, which will also provide a transition with the program in the different parts of the forum, with places specifically for conferences, roundtables, panel discussions, H14 for the social and solidarity economy, and finally the the youth headquarters at La Cité Bleue. Thank you to everybody. Thank you, Dombe, for that very rapid summary to try to combine the advocacy papers. And also, we will also add in SDG 17 on cooperation, which is central to the SSE. And for the presentation, the aim now is not to go into the details of the program for the forum. It really is just to give you an overview of the forum that is being prepared. We just wanted to put some faces to the names, the people who have been preparing this program. There are people who aren't necessarily present in the webinar every time, but there is a team which has prepared a lot of activities for you young people, in addition to the rest of the very many activities at the forum. You will get a chance to meet them when you come to Bordeaux. So for this part, the idea was just to perhaps hear Eve and Aurore if they would like to say anything about the program, and particularly what I wanted to say on this slide is that there is a program which is very dense. From the 29th to the 31st at the Palais to l'Atlantique in October, there will be a plenary session and then 12 panel discussions in parallel, so a huge choice for you to make with all sorts of very interesting subjects, and all the panel discussions will be translated into the 3 languages. So you'll have plenty of choice, and in parallel to this, the Cité Bleue is just 15 minutes away by public transport from the conference center, and that will be the headquarters for young people, where 5 or 6 at all times there'll be 5 or 6 activities going on, interactive activities for young people over the course of these 3 days. And if I keep talking, Eve and Aurore won't be able to speak, so I should perhaps be quiet and let them speak. Eve, should I let you speak? Yep, thank you. So, thank you, Martin. First of all, I'm delighted to be meeting you here today, and also to be seeing some of you at the forum in 1 month's time. As Martin said, the program for the forum is very dense, very rich, and there will be lots of specific things which are planned for young people at La Cité Bleue, notably on Tuesday. For those who are present, we know that there are people who will be doing other activities or will not yet have arrived, but for those who are present on Tuesday, the 28th of October, there'll be an opportunity to meet before the forum begins, and also to prepare for your participation in the forum. And there'll be all sorts of things placed at your disposal to do that, but that's the first day to get ready for the forum. And in the evening, we'll be inviting everybody to meet up to celebrate this, the beginning of the forum, before everything starts properly on Wednesday the 29th. Wednesday 29th, we'll see the official opening of the forum at the conference center, and our program will begin in the afternoon. And at La Cité Bleue, the youth center, there'll be panel discussions, fresques, discussions, debates. Everything has been put together with local stakeholders, non-profit associations working with young people or organized by young people. And so in the slides, you can see just an insight into the program, and you have a detailed program on the website of the forum. And we'll also be indicating, or you'll have all the information about this. Don't worry, you will get all the information you need. And for example, on the Wednesday, there is a workshop, a cinema workshop, a movie workshop. Some evenings there will also be parties, chances to meet each other. a screening of a film on the Tuesday evening at La Cité Bleue. So it'll be a place for workshops, but also a place quite simply to discuss with other young people, and with a slightly less institutional feel than the conferences at the conference center. And the aim really is to share all this and to discuss with each other. I don't know if you would like to add anything to that, but there you have a quick insight into that. If I could just add, perhaps repeat, in fact, that the official program is now online, so please don't hesitate. Go and take a look at the GSEF 2025 Bordeaux website. You'll find all the details. Also, for young people, we're currently working on a guide for participants to help you in get ready for everything. And also, one other thing we may not have said is that on the Wednesday afternoon, there'll also be a football tournament for young people with a very inclusive spirit. So with mixed teams, it's not a fierce competition. It's a moment for sport to bring people together and also to link this in with the more institutional part of the conferences. There will be a youth stand at the conference center, and we invite you to come there, and we're going to try to propose some time slots so the different territories and initiatives can be presented there. Perhaps one morning dedicated to what's going on in Africa, so that everybody can really be promoted and also get a chance to promote the initiatives of their respective territories. That's what I wanted to add. Martin, if I could just add, the activity we're scheduling for the Tuesday, which is organized by the RIPES Europe, who'll be organizing an inter-knowledge workshop where young people can meet each other and get a chance to familiarize themselves with the program the day before. So as Aurore said very well, we are currently preparing a logbook to help people to prepare their participation in the forum, to find their way around and to choose the workshops they want to take part in. And it also has plenty of information, practical information, and the different things. And also a logistics guide will also be shared to help you find your way around at the forum and get all the practical information that you need about how to get around by public transport, safety rules, what to do in case of an emergency, and things like that. That's what I wanted to add. Yep, that's great. And following on from what you said on the Tuesday morning, that time to get to know each other will also be accessible in the 3 languages of the forum. And in the afternoon, that's why we're also preparing this logbook to containing the whole of the program, so that young people can take part actively and find their way around and hear the speakers they want to hear, and perhaps prepare interviews or videos or anything that they would like to do with different media. So the idea is that on the Tuesday evening, all the young people should get together so that we can all take part en masse in the event from the Wednesday onwards, with the youth stand, which will serve as a meeting point for young people at the conference center. And it will be right in the middle of the action. You won't be able to miss it when you arrive at the conference center. I see that time is moving on. We can take a couple of minutes if you'd like to talk about the declaration itself, perhaps Aurore, and then we will leave some time for some questions or comments. And don't worry, please don't hesitate to put your questions in the chat. And if there are any questions we don't answer today, we will send you the answers afterwards in our minutes of the meeting. So which is the slide? I think this is the slide we want. So So you've seen for the declaration the fruits of all this work which has been done on each continent, and the idea is that we should then convert this into a final international declaration. And to do this, we wanted to work with a group, a collective. Some of those people may be present here in the webinar here today, but in any case, that group is called Tarnenu. It's a Bordeaux group who are really going to help us to make this international presentation and to have a big impact, to come up with an impactful presentation. So for this, there will be some work, periods of work in English, in French, and in Spanish. Also work on writing the declaration and also on public speaking, so that the ceremony really lives up to our expectations. A great closing ceremony, because it's the young people who will have the final words in this forum before handing over to the next country, which will be preparing the next World Forum. So for the moment, obviously we haven't selected the young people who will be doing this, but we're putting out a call to the co-pilots on the different continents, if they could perhaps indicate young people to us who have been active in drafting your advocacy papers in these different countries, so that we can put together these small groups who will then work with the collective over the 3 days to come up with a good presentation of the International Youth Declaration. So I'll say, if you would like to speak, please don't hesitate. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here to support the people who will be taking part in these workshops, to perfect their advocacy, to give a collective group presentation, which can really be a highlight in SLAM during this event. And if you want to know more about this, we are at your disposal to discuss with you, and we will be available. And if there are any particular questions about this, we're at your disposal. Thank you very much. So the idea is that you have a chance to speak now. If you have any questions, any comments you would like to make, we let you speak, and we can answer any questions that anybody has. I see some hands going up already. I don't know if Martin, if you wanted to say just one final thing on the process, just for the co-pilots who have prepared each advocacy paper, which has been presented to you there. We're going to be working on preparing the international declaration with the different co-pilots to come up with a common shared version. We'll be arriving at the forum with it. And that's for this, that there will be the co-pilots, but also, as I explained, there are a lot of delegations from all over the world. And so there won't be enrollments for this process, but we're going to try to have 1 or 2 young people per delegation who will act as ambassadors for their delegations to take part. That's why there are 3 workshops in English, 1 in French and 1 in Spanish, where they will be able to work on the advocacy with the content that is present, and also with their own words, to be able to take ownership of the declaration. And the 3 groups will meet together in one to prepare the oral presentation at the closing ceremony. And on the Thursday afternoon, there will be some time. There'll be a public speaking competition to serve as a rehearsal, to allow all the young people really to get to grips with the advocacy. On the Friday morning, we'll close the Cité Bleue, and we'll do a final rehearsal before we go to the conference center, where in front of all the participants and decision makers, more than 3,000 people, the 50 young people and 5 co-pilots will be getting up on the stage to read the declaration, the International Declaration for Youth. So that's just to explain, so you are aware of this process, which will be sort of in parallel to all the other activities which are going on. And perhaps there'll be one person from your delegation who will be taking part in this process to represent you. So that's just to explain how we will be doing this. And as Demba Mani has put your hand up, I'll hand over to you. We can't hear you, however. Is your microphone activated? If it doesn't work, you can come through to my office and you can speak from my computer. So, thank you, Martin. So I'm Demba Mani. I work on international solidarity for France Volontaire in Senegal. And we have a number of participants here. So thank you for the presentations. At France Volontaire, we are involved in this process of preparing the 2025 forum in mobilizing young people on the continent. And over the past few months, since May or June, we've been working on a questionnaire which we have sent out to international volunteers who have been mobilized and who are working on projects with the SSE. So we surveyed these volunteers about the SSE and the impact it can have. We have 260 volunteers who answered the questionnaire, and many of them consider that the SSE can have an impact. So we've called upon these people to work together for the international declaration with the development of with the support of the Secretary. So after this work, with 12 or so volunteers, we put together the recommendations which we can present, which will contribute to the International Declaration for Youth. And we have 4 main focuses which came out of our work: promoting voluntary work as a strategic driver for the SSE by raising awareness of volunteering and of different possibilities that exist, which perhaps means we could create a working group with volunteers from SSE organizations. The second theme is to develop a dedicated program for volunteers working in the SSE to support stakeholders and to mobilize international volunteers to boost commitment and mobility. The third theme is to reinforce mobility and reciprocity. So to have greater reciprocity in these processes in the SSE to foster international cooperation and reciprocity between volunteers, and this can be important in international cooperation. And the next theme is to raise awareness more of the SSE and to raise public awareness beginning in middle schools or high schools, as was mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, and to inform people about the opportunities offered by international volunteering. I think That summarizes the focuses of our work, which came out of our work, with the volunteers working in the field in direct contact with the partners who considered that these recommendations can have their place in the International Declaration. Thank you very much. Thank you, Demba, for sharing that process. And so as the 3 days will go very quickly, I think this is a great opportunity to begin to familiarize ourselves with each other and to see who we are, and also interesting to hear about that survey. Thank you very much, and thank you for that excellent work. And I think there will be several volunteers who will be present in Bordeaux during the forum. If anybody else would like to speak, I see that there are a lot of members of the PALEX who are present, and also European partners in the Erasmus Plus project, which we mentioned. If anybody would like to say a word or explain your participation, I hand over to Samba. And there will be 64 participants from 10 countries present in Bordeaux, representing the European process. So with Bordeaux, France, and Europe, which will be welcoming the world. Samba, over to you. I hand over to you. You can speak now. Thank you very much, Martin. Thank you for the invitation. I'm Samba, in charge of partnerships for an NGO in Senegal, working in voluntary work, mobilizing people who have just graduated from universities and who don't have an opportunity to do volunteering. And here the aim, so they serve as volunteers in communities to try to find solutions to the problems encountered by communities, often dealing with problems relating to the social and solidarity economy. And that's why in the past year, we have worked with the ministry to try to find solutions for these communities. Often the policies we try to implement have more impact on people living in capital cities, whereas people living in remote villages are often forgotten. And we want to bring them this opportunity to benefit from funding possibilities and projects. And this year, we're also working with a network to help and to support. Unfortunately, we have had quite a lot of alumni who applied to become volunteers in this program, but who have had issues or problems getting visas. And my question is the following: so if among them there are some people who already have visas, would you be ready to accompany them? Because financing is more focused on the volunteers and the communities, and for our alumni, often they have to find other sources of financing to be able to do other activities. So that's my question. And thank you very much for the invitation to be here. And thank you to all of those with whom we have had partnership agreements. Thank you, Samba, for that presentation. And it's true, there is a lot going on in Senegal, working on volunteering, which you have just presented to us, and also a lot of work in Senegal to take part. I think there are some 100 people who have signed up to take part in the forum. So I don't have much visibility about what might be possible, but we will try to to provide contacts with the local youth focal point and the Senegal delegation, which is coming. There'll also be the ministry and certain local authorities who are taking part. And so for the forum, and we will try to see what can be done, especially for the visa applications, where the embassy will have to be involved because we're still waiting for some answers on visa applications. And in the meantime, I will hand over so we can continue our discussions. Thank you, Samba, for what you had to say. And now, if I take you in the order you appear on the screen, Akilas, if you would like to speak.
Hello, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me correctly. Everything is nice? Okay, nice. Hello, I am Achilles. I am from Greece. I'm representing mostly Praxis Greece. It's an NGO organization which helps young people and tries to contribute more in the youth engagement for different problems about society, about governance, ESG goals and stuff. And I just wanted to ask some questions. As you can see, I will speak in English because my French is not that good. I'm happy to attend this wonderful event and contribute as much as I can to making the world a better place. And I think that's the goal of all these events, a better future for all of us. I wanted to ask about the presentations and the contribution, the advocacy papers and stuff. I am an economist. I have recently finished my master in economics, and I'm keen on this specific topic. I want to see about the economic aspect, about the social aspect, the ecology, about equality in the societies. And I have different questions in my mind. As I told you, I'm from Greece, and I think that you can understand that I know a lot about what is crisis and how this affects our society. And we have many different problems about inequality as countries because the northern countries, let's say, can do better things on economic aspect, but the southern ones face greater volatility. We have greater recessions. We face the same recessions with greater impact. You can see from the news. We have problems in France, in Greece, in Spain, greater problems than the northern countries, and this affects our everyday life. I wanted just to ask, because you told us that we'll have time to discuss and to present and all these things. Do we have to, let's say, prepare something to send you something about the presentation or something, or this will be created through discussion and, let's say, talking to each other at the presentation or at the free time?
Thank you, Akilas. Yeah, to answer you, so all the different roundtable session, plenary session, and everything was prepared before, because it was a call for contribution that's end last December, and then we join different initiative, continents, and thematics. So they are already prepared. But that's why as well we have the Citéblot, the headquarter, to have more space and time to talk to each other. And during the different time of the event, we can talk a lot about this because even now, it's not the place and the time, but I would like to react about what you were saying about economic, how we could do about cooperation. So, and definitely it's to build a better world that everyone's are coming. So with different progressive people and mind, we hope that we can find some way, some cooperation mobilization project to go on and to answer your question. If you want to come with a paper or something that you prepare, you are more than welcome, and we can talk about it and everything. And if you're a researcher as well, because we didn't talk about the overview of this amazing week, because we will have other events that are organized, but the main one as well is the Monday, Tuesday, and half Wednesday. It's a research conference, which is the Syriac International. It's about public economy and SSE. So it will have a lot of researchers present in Bordeaux, and we plan the event on the same week to make sure that like local government, national government, so civil society and researcher are there to exchange and talk and find some way to do better, as you say. So finishing here, and then we can keep talking, and feel free as well to write to us if you need and want. We will be happy to answer to your question. And I give the floor to Lat to make sure that everyone can say a word.
So I'm the president of the Youth Council in Senegal. Our municipal youth council is a member of the National Youth Council, and our youth council generally represents the voice of young people in contacts with government, institutions, etc. So these opportunities for us are a chance to discuss with other countries. I'm delighted to be among you here for this webinar. So myself and the members of the council feel very concerned about youth issues. We would like to discuss with the focal points in the different countries which are present, and even those who are currently absent, before the forum, and also during the forum and afterwards. This is important because I think that I joined a little later, and our local council has appointed me to represent the young people at the forum. But previously, we worked with the ministry in Senegal on the SSE through our National Youth Council, and at the same time, the Municipal Youth Council. But really, we would like to take part in the debates during and after the forum, the World Forum, because I think that this is a framework, a forum we can use to at least discuss together with other countries to be able to know what's happening in other countries and also to promote the SSE. Of course, there are things that we all have done, but we can also present the different activities in different places. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Lahad, for that presentation of the activities and opportunities for exchanges. If we will put we've just put the address for the Africa Youth Hub in the chat, and they will be delighted to put you in touch with the youth focal point for Senegal and for different stakeholders. In any case, we will be delighted to continue these discussions with you and to make progress on youth issues, as you said. Just before I hand over to Georges, I wanted to mention that we were supposed to finish the webinar at 4:30 in France, 2:30 Universal Time. So the idea really was to give our presentation. So we finished our presentation on the main points. We will send you, as I said, the slides, the minutes of the meeting, and also all the documents, the advocacy papers, and we're open for any of your questions. And you have here Ndumbe's email address if you want to get in touch with us. We're not going to end the meeting straight away. We can continue the discussions a little bit, but we would like to thank you for taking part for those who need to leave. There are a lot of you, more than 300 people enrolled. We had about 160, 170 people for a large part of that event. And a lot of people also asked us for information because they couldn't be with us today. We're delighted to see this thing as being so dynamic on the subject of youth and the SSE. And we're looking forward to welcoming everybody to Bordeaux to continue these discussions. It'll be much more interesting than by video conference. So for those who are leaving, as I see there are lots of messages from people who are leaving, goodbye. And so those who want to leave, and I let you continue with the discussions with Georges Djokamba. No, but you don't have your microphone on. Martin, can I speak? Just one moment. I just wanted we could perhaps see how we can set up a WhatsApp for youth in Africa. And for the International Youth Declaration, that's one thing, but we really need to then promote our advocacy. And I think we need to discuss this, but I'll hand over now to George. Thank you. I'm sorry, I can't hear what he's saying. And so I will be taking part in the Bordeaux Forum. Thank you for the presentation. The only concern that I have on this subject is that of visas, for example. I gave my application into the French embassy over a month ago, but I have no answer for the moment. And there's so much demand at the moment that it can be a bit complicated. So I don't know, what can the organizers of the forum do? Are you planning to send an email to the French embassies to facilitate the processes for the participants? Thank you, Georges, for that. It's true that this is a complicated issue, that of visas. And the organization team at the city of Bordeaux has provided the names of the people who've enrolled to the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and Europe to try to facilitate things with the embassies and consulates. But we have very little visibility at the Secretariat about what is actually being done by the embassies. We're trying to provide the support we can to the embassies, but we do not have any real means of having an impact. But for you have the Youth Sounding Board, which I think has an event prior to the event in Brussels. So I was hoping that you may So we don't have visibility. But this obviously this is an issue for many countries. These issues can be complicated, even for governmental organizations. So obviously, I don't know which, depending on your country, for DRC and some other countries, there are also the embassies of Spain or Belgium, which represent us. So it's not easy. We're doing what we can, but please don't hesitate to send us an email. But we have very little room for maneuver. We're trying to do everything that we can. But we really don't find it acceptable that the things are made so difficult, especially when you have communicated about the event and informed all but necessary organizations. We keep our fingers crossed in the hope that in this last month, there will be a lot more. So in Democratic Republic of Congo, it's the Belgian embassy which takes over, which represents France. So I'm sorry, Georges, we can continue. We're trying to do what we can, but we hope that this will be unblocked for you and for many others, because you're not the only person who has mentioned this issue to us. Lumumba, if you would like to say something, and also for the Erasmus Plus partners, if you would like to say a quick word, as you're all coming with the small delegations of 5 young people and 1 person accompanying them, we'd be delighted to hear from you, also from the members of the PALEX or Danielle, or people who have taken part in previous forums. I see Lumumba has opened the microphone. Hello. So I'm Lumumba. I'm sorry, I can't hear well enough to translate for you. I really do not understand that. I will resume the translation as soon as the sound quality is better. Sorry about that. I really am sorry, but I can't. We can't hear anything, the gentleman just said. And I would agree. Remember, I'm sorry. We can't hear you at all, Mr. Lumumba, so we're going to have to stop you there. I thought other people could hear you. Apparently, it's the same for everybody, so we really hear you very poorly. And I think you have an answer in the chat. Sorry about that, as there was an echo. But please don't hesitate. I think you have the answer from the OFQJ in the chat, and we will do what we can, but we really couldn't hear you. There was one other person who had the hands up, but she was put it back down. Would anybody else like to say a final word? In that case, Danielle, I see you putting your hand up physically. Yeah, I'm putting my hand up because I don't know where the button is. Thank you to everybody. I don't know if it's translated simultaneously. Yes, it is. Yeah, all into English and Spanish. But we'll have to let the interpreters go because they've been at it for quite a while now. So I just wanted to say that at the local level, we'll be welcoming the forum, and we're working together to coordinate with the stakeholders and the members of the GSEF and the European members and French stakeholders. So we're working together to prepare to welcome everybody. We're trying to do the best that we can. For us, it's very important that that young people should be welcomed by other young people and youth organizations working in the SSE around the world. And we have been lucky enough as co-organizers in France to be able to take part in the World Forum that took part in Dakar a couple of years ago. We know how warmly we were welcomed there, and we were delighted to get that experience. And we hope that at the very least, we'll be able to give as warm a welcome to Bordeaux as the welcome we were given in Dakar. So, and that this will be an unforgettable experience. I won't say any more than that, but for us, it really is an opportunity to do networking, to meet other organizations, and I hope to construct a process that is sustainable, and that this is something that is not just a one-shot, and that is something that can enable us to build projects that improve situations for young people in our local territories around the world. Thank you very much, Danielle. So as we have seen, preparing activities for young people is important. And with everything that was done in Barcelona and in Dakar, and with everything that was done to enable, motivate really in Dakar young people. Also, they took part in the Forum of Young Leaders in Yamoussoukro. So this is good because it also shows that the continents are meeting each other at different moments in time and in different forums. So I don't know if anybody would like to say a word in conclusion, but I think we've pretty much presented what we wanted to. Thank you for staying in such large numbers through to the end. We're looking forward to seeing you again here in less than a month's time. Some delegations will be arriving on Sunday the 26th. We're just 3 or 4 weeks away, and we're delighted to be welcoming you here and to prepare all this as effectively as possible. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We'll send you everything we can. Thank you once again. Congratulations to all the continents. And it was great to have so many countries represented here. It was impressive. And thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day, no matter how long or short that might be, and see you again soon. If you could put your cameras on so that we can say goodbye and take a quick snapshot.